with the social sector, absolutely, which is why they're putting their money into it. Okay, so I think there is somewhere a view that people have to spend and that's why they're doing. I don't think so, because the money is very hard earned. It is very, very important to their stakeholders and shareholders that this money is spent wisely, because they are accountable. See, I think very few of I will continue to say NGOs and social sector will realize that this has to be explained back back to their shareholders. I had a point that in terms of whether CSR should bring all their competence into it, personally, I believe they should just stay out of it. Giving money is the best thing they can do. When they start on the review thing, and I watched some of it from on the other side, they frankly don't necessarily know what questions to ask. And it can be embarrassing, because if you're doing a review and you're going to take back the same thing to your stakeholders, then you really need to know that space, which they don't, because they are diversifying in where that money goes, and it's impossible for few people to really understand this very, very wide sector. However, the point I made about encouraging employees to come in to play a role, it is true that they sometimes can bungle up, because the time is very short, and it's a very, like any other sector, it's a very deep sector. But it is sometimes very, very critical, because where else will they get those people from? If an NGO puts in a job description and starts wanting to hire those people, they struggle to get those people sometimes. So sometimes you need a business analyst. You just want to bring them in from the CSR side rather than keeping it open. So yes, absolutely there is confidence, but the fact is that it has to be explained, because somebody is asking that explanation back from them. They are on your side.
We have just 5 minutes, so keep your questions short and direct.
In fact, I am Balu's neighbor. I could ask the question there itself. Okay. Anyway, nowadays we don't meet each other. He's busy somewhere, I'm busy. Okay, that's a different story. We are also working with in CSR partnership. Of course, I have to tell you about, if you give me 30 seconds more, I know Balu since he used to stay in tribal villages in HD Kote. Sleep with them, stay with them, spend so many days. Okay, that is to build our relationship with the people. Over a time you build your relationship. You have a lot of meetings, and sometimes you feel, many people tell that Mairada, there must be in some meeting. We are a spin-off organization of Mairada, which has been working there for nearly 30 years. But now we get a feeling, I may be wrong. In the corporate, I think, when the corporate support, I feel they also behave like, they give an order to ancillary unit, and it's called as ancillary unit. I want 10 cars. Okay, 10 cars and 31st December I want. So we spend a lot of time preparing the people and all that. So that finally we feel the 10 cars will be delivered little late, but we deliver the best cars. You get my point? Balu may speak it. Yeah.
What is the question?
Yeah, it is like
I get your point.
Output.
What is the question?
No, it is like output.
Okay.
The CSR is more concerned with the output. The NGOs are more concerned with the process, preparing people. We have worked with many donors. Of course, Balu knows. When you see have a CSR, they look at more what is the product, like output. I want so many. You got my point?
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying
yeah.
The CSOs focus on process, while the corporates or the CSR spending.
People, talking to them.
I think both are important. I think both are important.
Yeah.
Okay, you need the process, you need the end outcome. So both are important.
Yes. Sometimes
fair enough. I think this gentleman had a question. We have just 2 minutes, and there are.
This is Venkatesh. We are from Innovation Hub Technologies. We do devices for the visually impaired. My question is this: we've been trying to distribute, sell, because we have a large visually impaired population in India, over 2.5 crores, if you look at the numbers. And we are struggling to reach out to the large masses, whether it be a rural or a urban setting. And when we reach out to corporates, we look through various annual reports, we see that there is a huge underspend every year, consistently, year on year, whether it be both private sector companies, multinationals, large multinationals, or even the government organizations, the banks, or even the mineral, you look at different sectors. Why is that so? Why is it that in spite of the difficult challenges that the social sector is facing, and yet why do we see such a high underspend when it comes to the funds that are available in these?
Which is why people are struggling to understand where to put the money. I don't believe it is because they don't want to put the money, because the one minute you have decided that this amount is allocated to CSR spend, they really should be questioned in the organization itself as to why this was not spent, right? So my take is that they really don't know, when you're doing a review for grants. I mean, I've sat on some grants committee. It is so difficult to decide where to put the money. One is sometimes, people can be very hazy in terms of what they really want, whether it is money they want, whether there are contacts they want, to help them, or whether, like your example, do you really want to identify where those people are and do it in a more, efficient fashion to reach those people? So I think in terms of that, there is a struggle in getting there. The corporates are very, very new to the sector, right? And as someone said before me, you ask somebody who knows how to spell that and put that person to head it, is not really the most efficient ways to do it. So I believe that over the next 2-3 years, there will be people who have worked in social sectors who will come to head the CSR. That is when this will start becoming, that is when it will start becoming meaningful, because they just don't know how to do it right now.
So just taking off from Nandita, once companies have decided what should be their focus for their CSR spend, there's another process which many companies go through. It's called due diligence. Which partner should we work with? Okay, so financial capability, they should not have political affiliations. Do they have audited accounts in place? Can they do program management? Who are the key people on the board? These things are always there, and it usually takes a while to get things done. So I think in the first year of the rollout of the program, many companies did not spend, but the subsequent years, I think they got it into a better shape. So I think the next year, the spend was better in terms of their obligation and the spend, and it becomes better and better as the oil, gets becoming a well-oiled machinery. That's how. There's one more reason why things didn't get done the first year at least.
I just want to add one more point. Yeah. I think there's also a problem with civil society, right? We don't know how to package, we don't know how to present, we don't know how to market our work. No, it's time we learned it. Let's not run away from it. There are skills. We need to find the toolkit. We need to find the people for that, the competence, and do it in a good way, professional way, and we'll get. How we are not even in their radar right now. They don't even know you exist. I didn't know you existed. And the second thing is, I do understand due diligence. I have a quick comment on that. Is that all important? All that is very good. And whom do they send? That's my only concern. They send PwCs and Ernst & Youngs. Again, they are very good in all that Raj said, but they don't understand development again. So they must have, only when these consulting organizations are mushroom now, everybody is expert on CSR the last 2 years. Unless they get in some social experts also to come into the committee of audit, will true audit happen?
Should we take one last question?
Question, we are talking about development over here, and it's not as fast as we think of. If we are talking about something, it takes about 3-4 years, 5 years for a significant change to reflect on the community. So when we get into quarter-on-quarter reviews, like we said, or year-on-year reviews, we said, it also becomes important. I represent a corporate, so that to at least keep track of whether the change is happening at the right pace or not. So I just feel that it is also important, also keeping the way of working of the CSOs in mind, to keep track of whether the change is happening at the right pace or not. not in a way to question on how you are working or whether it is working right or wrong. It is just to see whether it is happening at the right pace or not, or what we thought we would deliver, let's say year 5, or after that, would we be able to do it or not?
See, there's no doubt on that. If you are like what logical framework approach is much better than corporates do. We know what a means of verification, we know what indicators of verification are. We do that, but the problem is you don't agree to what we say. You come up and say it is this way, and it has happened every quarter. Now, development is a slow process. It's not even 3 years or 5 years. Now, to me, the way I understand, that's why you said the process is important. It may take 10, it may take 20. There's so many new things which will come up in the ecosystem or environment which will reduce it or enhance it. We don't know how it will operate. We work with that openness. I'm not saying we should not be accountable, don't get me wrong. But I want to be accountable for my process. I want to be accountable for the sincerity of my attempt, for bringing the best possible skill sets into that. But I want you to come in open-minded. That's all I'm asking for. Come in open-minded, work with me, we learn from each other, learn together from communities, we'll possibly make an impact. Okay?
I think that should be.
Can we,
One last
can we
question?
take one last question?
I have the background of Masters in Social Work. I have been part of some of the NGOs in my earlier career. And my understanding, and I'm currently holding a HR position with an IT firm. The challenge, what I'm seeing in the CSR initiatives with most corporates is they are trying to do something outside of their domain knowledge and where they have expertise in. And the other challenges, what I'm facing from most of the corporates is they are not doing all the right things for their own customers. Something like they have compromised on major say for a food and beverages company, compromising on their own ingredients in how they are actually reaching out to the public. And many other issues are happening within the corporates. But CSR, I find that it is a kind of facade or a media hype they use in order to get the public attention and say that how benevolent and generous they are in doing their spends in the other activities on education. So if they are able to focus on their respective domains and areas of expertise, we can actually create the social change much larger than what we are actually right now doing. Because I am not an expert in the education sector, but I'm actually trying to influence that sector with just because I'm capable of funding that initiatives. But if an IT company or whatever is the core expertise of the company, if we are leveraging on those skills and extending that as part of the CSR initiative for the social change, that might actually create a bigger impact, I feel.
So,
and my question for the panel would be like, because whatever changes which we are doing right now, it is not creating that impact, that larger impact which we want to create for the entire nation. So is there any particular community like NASCOM or any other community of network of CSR and NGO organizations which we can come together, bring in a kind of work together on the best practices, how we can actually focus, how we can do the transformation, a guidance for all the HR leadership or the business leaders who can actually give a directive for the social change, rather than, because these conversations keep happening that CSOs and NGOs, we can do each other better for each other. But how we can actually make the bottom line impact, I would request the panel to guide on that.
I'll just take a stab on the first comment you made. I agree, we also train our own employees. We struggle to get employee participation, right? Not writing checks, we want to get that. So our sweet spot has been that we now take in, so we have two things going. We take in a group of people with disabilities, train them in our areas of expertise, our processes, okay? Internship, and then make them employable. So that because we've surmounted some typical problem, logistics. Oh, if I want to go teach in school, one is I'm not good in teaching schools, we tried that. Okay, so we don't have to do that. They're coming to our office, they're in our environment, we teach them how to work in a corporate environment, and we are teaching them our own processes, like we would teach any new entrant into the company. That has been very successful, so we are rolling it out in a big, that's one. People who have factories and so on, there is this good scheme, which is the NEEM scheme, national. This is answering your second question. So it can be done at a company level, it can be done at an industry association level, but If you look at the scheme, you can bring in people. These are basically 12th standard pass out students. Bring them into a factory. It could be anything. And train them for 2 years. Plus also fund their theoretical training on a Saturday through a NEEM partner. In our case, we have 2 partners. So, and then you fund that so that the funding for the theoretical training goes from your CSR fund, but you actually train them. Your people train them as part of the day-to-day activities. So that's a good space to be in. We found it, but this is just an example. But to the second question you have, for instance, NASSCOM does take up some national initiatives, national computer literacy mission, skills development. They are doing it, and they are talking to their membership to participate to some extent.
Yeah, I'll quickly respond to that. I think it's a very good articulation of a felt need. A lot of us are filling that space, and a lot of people minds have to come together. Technically, the government had mandated ICAI, CSR Foundation to do it. They, unfortunately, this is my view, thankfully he's retired. He was a regulator, was heading it. He came from a public sector chairman, was put there. So he thought CSR is regulation. That is stupid. I believe CSR is facilitation. And so now it will change. We are putting a lot of pressure on the Ministry of Finance and Corporate Affairs now to get a good person in who understands the field. So now all those things will start happening. So that's going to happen. The earlier question of looking at employee engagement and all this, what we're good at. Now CSR, unfortunately, we got the law in this country. Sometimes many of us, including me, advocated for it. I think it's a big mistake now. Advocating for it has shifted the focus from corporate responsibility itself, from corporate good governance, that's also social responsibility, to philanthropy. Now everybody's focusing on the 2%, but they don't understand that vendor management and everything, everything is part of CSR. Now society is part of the CSR. The S is in between. They've forgotten that. They only think it's NGO and giving money to that. So I think corporates have to get their acts together, wake up, and understand that CSR is also about how they manage and govern themselves. Extremely important. Now all the big corporate in India, the public linen getting washed in the public, we all know what's happening. And employee engagement is dangerous. I am always nervous of volunteering, internships and all that. Let me just tell you, just working in hospitals, people who think they can save this world, right? We all come with this attitude. Corporates come into rural India like that, outsiders come into India like that. Just working in hospitals, because I run 2 of them, I know, it's a $4 billion industry globally, right? What are you talking? What money we have in CSR is peanuts. $4 billion industry, and United Nations did a study to understand, are they changing people's health? It's a global health issue, right? $4 billion is getting poured into healthcare around the world by volunteering and by corporates having employee engagements. Less than 5% is the direct impact on people's healthcare. So now the UN is saying, in fact, the UN coined the word voluntourism. Like I do tourism in the name of volunteering. Now the UN is saying, damn it, don't go to other countries, send your checks. People can do better. So I think finally corporates, just send your money, we'll do a good job.
So this extremely enthralling keynote session. So there you go, remove the entitlement, remove the God complex and the condescension, and start on fair, equal ground. Get out of the comfort zone, do more than you're meant to do. Bring in the 4 pillars that will define and deliver development, the CSOs, the community, CSR, and the government. Work with each other's strengths and work on each other's weaknesses, and together as equals, make the change and develop to synergize and build partnerships that will create the successes that we very much need. A huge round of applause to our keynote speakers and the fireside chat, which was moderated by Raj. So with that, I'm going to quickly invite on stage Usha from Himmat Singha Foundation to thank our speakers. We have a small memento that we want to give to each of you. There's also a donation to children, which is going to be given in the name of the speakers who've spoken today. On behalf of NHRD, there's a sum of 2,000 rupees that goes to support a child's need. So, Usha, can we thank our speakers? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to now call upon stage Ramesh Ranjan from NHRD to say a few words. Okay, so the next thing on the program we have is a vote of thanks, because before we set the stage and go on with the rest of the day, we have a quick thank yous to be said. So that's going to be delivered by Liz.
So thank you to our keynote speakers who really opened the session and energized all of us. They've left already, but I think all of us have been truly enlightened with their provoking messages, and it set the right note for the conference to go forward. So thank you, Dr. Balu, and thank you, Nandita, who were there to deliver the keynote. Thank you, Raj, for moderating the fireside. I think we've set the conference on fire, and people are really energized to go forward. I also want to, because we're doing this vote of thanks up front, I also want to thank all the other speakers who will be coming up in the subsequent sessions, the moderators and the panelists. Each of them will be introduced very specially by our anchor for accepting our invitation to come here and share their views on partnership, to share their inspiring work, and to give us a lot of opportunity to discuss, interact, and learn as to what it means to take partnership to the next level and create social impact. I want to thank St. Joseph's College. This is their new MBA campus, and we are the first conference to happen over here. They have so graciously offered their venue to NHRD for this conference. Father Jason, Father Peter, the Dean, and the management of St. Joseph's College, we'd like to thank every one of them. We also want to thank Prabhu, Anand, and their team for all the support they're giving us in terms of this conference. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Himmat Sinka. A conference of this magnitude cannot happen without their ready support in terms of financial help. They are sponsoring not only this specific conference, they're also giving out the award for the best CSR practice. There were a number of entries. The finals are going to be evaluated on 8th and 9th, and the award is going to be given on 9th. So Himmat Sinka is sponsoring that award. Again, they are also contributing very actively, and part of their funds are going towards the main NHRD conference that is happening on 8th and 9th at Palace Grounds. The registrations are open for the conference, so any of you who would like to go and participate in that can still do that even now as we speak. Even today, as we parallelly, as we run this conference, there are other conferences happening parallelly. There's an Edupreneurs conference, there's a CHRO conference, there's a student conference also going on at the same time, and a fireside too. From Himmat Sinka's side, I would like to call out Mr. Wilson, who has been a very active supporter of NHRD. He's not here today. And also Usha, who's been helping us in our core team and who is here to represent Himmat Sinka. Thank you very much. We have in the background, for an event to happen like this, there are a lot of people working in the background. So our design team, Spellbound, event mechanics who's created these wonderful banners and standees, and everybody else from the NHRD team who have helped us in logistics, a big thank you to them. My special thanks to the audience here. All of you represent leadership in terms from the HR space, CSR space, and the social sector space. You have come here, and I'm sure you're going to benefit a lot from the interactions today. This conference is all about your learning, and we thank you so much for being here today. Our caterers and for food and beverage are